go. It's recording now. So, hello everybody. We are here with the lovely Sarah and our lovely Patricia. So, evening, ladies.
Good evening.
Hey, yeah, a ladies' hangout.
Yay. Yay.
Even if we've had to sort of adapt at the moment to get round what they've done on Hangouts.
That's all you can do. That's all you can do. That's the way you got to move forward.
But I also sort of like this one-to-one. I mean, I am going to arrange a hangout with Wide Awake and Trouble About. They've been talking, and he said he'd like to do one, so that's nice. That we can do that and let them chat away for an hour or so. But it's actually quite nice. I mean, you know, don't you? On those ladies' nights, you didn't really. Sometimes you just couldn't get a word in.
I think it depends on the personality types and the conversation and things like that. You know what I mean? I think they're brilliant. I enjoy doing them for sure. As I said, I don't know how you manage to talk and write in the actual, the actual live feed itself. How you did those two things at once, I have not a clue. So
I don't know either, because it was quite stressful to keep I had two screens up, the chat room and the hangout. But occasionally you just take that, and then someone would say, "What, Karen?" I go, "Huh?" Because I'm actually writing in the chat room.
Exactly. So I was like, how is she doing that? Yeah, so I mean, I think all you can do is when they start doing this kind of thing, you just have to focus on the positive and just adapt with it. That's all you can do. They're always going to try to make things harder, so this is it.
And at least we're talking, we get to speak to people. Oh yes, and I've spoken to Crow as well, Crow 777. He says he'd like to come on in a few weeks' time. So and we'll get him all to ourselves as well, like we've got you to ourselves.
Yeah, that's very true. Very, very true. Good.
Anyway, as you know, we look with the other channels gone, 25 letters of appeal, no answer.
No, that's crazy. I know. Did they say that they didn't actually give you a reply? I think sometimes as us women, we like closure. We actually like to know what has gone so you can not do it again. But sometimes if they were to give you a reply, then they're kind of engaging in something with you, and they don't have to answer to nobody because they're so big. So that's just dumb.
That's the sad bit, though, isn't it? Because once you forget the people, which you're supposed to, without the people, you don't have the money. Even businessmen have people, but I mean, it's the people that started this, and it's the last people they're the people that are squished on.
Yep. They're just gotten too big. They're just that big. They don't need.
And if they've got the big business, what difference does it make if we're still chatting?
Control, I suppose. Comes down to control. That's what I'm guessing. If you actually want an answer for that, that's just control.
Anyway,
I have no idea why they did it. No clue.
Well, obviously to stop us communicating is one way. But again, we had very civilised hangouts. What about the ones that weren't? Maybe there was thousands of those with people swearing and slanging and all this going on. And, and also the porn bomber was able to come in through Google Hangouts. But it's really strange because Google Hangouts or Google own YouTube. So how come they've just sort of parted ways? And it's like they haven't put something good in its place. They've just fractured it, and Well, me and Patricia are going to look at other platforms as well. I'm already signed up to a couple, just got to do it.
What was it? Is that the kind of thing? I take it. I've not heard.
Well, I'm on DTube. I've got a video on there. I just opened it up and put one on there, and then obviously True, which is Big Dreads.
The thing is, it's not just YouTube they're doing this to. I mean, Facebook, they're changing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they changed the algorithms, which do something. eBay did that. They sort of annihilated everybody's shops when they did it a few years ago. So I know they changed the algorithm somehow, and it just completely changes everything.
What they're doing with Facebook, for example, you can't post anything that you post with a link on it. So, just with my books, for example, if you were to post an Amazon link to your book, for example, I don't know or you could post a link to a video. I don't know what people post, but if you post a link to another website that is kind of that's selling something like Amazon. I'm trying to think of another one. I can't think of anything just now. They'll basically block it and they won't let it go to the public, for example. So now they're pushing everybody to basically make your own website. So that it's all to do with content, and because Facebook have got these standards of swearing, nudity, all that kind of, their standards is completely different to Amazon standards. So if you were to post something on Amazon, it's going to cross standards. So that's where they're basically, so it's all changing.
Well,
And
to be
people
honest,
obviously going to get really upset.
I'm not sure if I like Facebook very much, but I like the messenger side, so that I can message
Yeah.
you, I can message
Yeah.
Patricia, I can message quite a few people on the messenger side, but I don't really go to Facebook anymore.
No, I mean it's a social media platform at the end of the day, and people aren't using it as that. But that's what it's always been intended as. Is meant to be for social media, and basically now that's this. I don't know the details. I don't get involved in the details of it.
I don't want to talk about this very much because we've actually got you on to talk. But this case that I've been looking into, this person supposedly, it was a year ago today. They supposedly died. And it was supposed to be a tribute, and they left her Facebook up. But now it's covered in Thrive, this thing that she was selling, and now it's a Thrive thing, and it's got thousands of pictures of Thrive on it. So under our noses is a business coming out of Facebook, and that's okay. But you can't. Do you see what I mean? So they must be all in on it together, and it's all part of a.
Oh yeah.
It's all part of a program, isn't it? Now to.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the actual bit behind it, but they are. They're like just as YouTube are. They're just changing the standards, and it really is nothing you can do. I mean,
they can sort of say that they've given us Hangouts back, and you can actually do Hangouts 1-to-1 on your channel. But like, I mean, in that sense, you could get people ringing in, so you could still sort of have a hangout, like a bit like I'm doing this to record. But like, it was, even though it had issues and problems, like the porn bomber side of it and stuff like that, it was still a good system, and you could just go on there and have a hangout. Now it's all like they've fractured it and made it really much more difficult. Or whether I don't want, because the hangout where you go on yourself, you can have a chat room, you can have super chat and all that. It looks like your camera's got to be on the whole time. And then I can't talk to anyone. I can't. I have to do it like this through a phone. So I just prefer this way for now.
What do you mean that she had to have a camera on the whole time?
Oh, I could only see webcam, and I didn't see pause. Like on Hangouts, we can turn the camera on and off. I didn't see that, and I thought, I'm not pressing the button.
Right. Okay. Oh no.
Because I don't know how it all worked. I've never used it, although I know people use it. But I'm just thinking, like, it was okay the way it was. Just, you needed to have sorted out the back way in. Because how stupid that anybody on the Hangout accidentally shows the link and that's it. Someone's come in and your channel's taken down. How could that be? It's actually their responsibility and you get penalised for it. They should never let anybody see the Hangout link. It should have been built in, but it was built in to see it. It's supposed to be that back door in, It was for other means. But anyway.
Okay.
But we were talking a little bit, and I hope Patricia, because she just has to start. Patricia, just talk when you want, my darling.
Yeah.
That's so kind of you, Karen. Thank you.
Oh, you know what I mean. You're quieter. She's quieter.
I'm listening.
We were just saying that, this wake up isn't as nice as you think it is.
What is it you do? What is it you do up to, Patricia? What is it you say? Because you're on all these chats, but I've never actually probably spoken to you directly.
Somebody speaking to me?
No. Yes.
What did you say? Sorry.
I said, what is it you get up to during the day? I said, I've never actually really spoken to you before in the past. You always never have.
I do crafting, and I'm disabled as well. Well, I say disabled. I get fatigue, so I have to sort of take things easy, but I love crafting.
Is it chronic fatigue you get, kind of?
Yeah.
There's a name for that, isn't there? And I can't remember it.
She's got a bit more than. She's got more than that, though. It's a bit she's got can't say it now. Arthritis.
Rheumatoid arthritis.
Girls, ladies, just give me like 10 seconds. I'll be right back. Just 10 seconds. Hold on.
Poor Patricia, anyway, but she's been buying sewing machines and she's getting round to wanting to do loads of sewing, aren't you, Patricia?
Yeah, I'm in the process of making a quilt.
Actually, I want one of those cushions, Patricia. I want a non-compliance cushion, please.
It's funny because I think I've come across the material that I used, or the material I was going to use,
I'm back, ladies. I apologise about that. Sorry.
The cushion doesn't actually have non-compliance on it. I've had to put that on the actual picture. It's not actually on the cushion.
No, you put it on the picture. Yeah. Clear the fear.
Like a watermark.
Very nice. I love it.
Yeah, she's a free spirit.
I like making things.
You like to what?
I like making things, decorating things, stuff like that. I'm not very good at it, and I can give it to my family because they'll go, "Oh, that's lovely, that." You know, as well.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
I tried selling it, but no.
You get pleasure out of doing it, don't you?
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
You get pleasure out of doing it.
I know.
That's all that matters. So how long have you been crafting for? A few years now, I take it, yeah?
About 2006 I started.
Okay. And you're a free-spirited like us lot as well.
A what?
Free-spirited, Karen says. You're free-spirited.
Yeah, you can't pin me down. I don't like being told what to do.
No.
I'll do what I don't want to hurt anybody. Well, it's not that I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't have that intention to hurt anyone. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to do what I want to do. And if they don't like it, well, they can just move aside. Move aside.
Oh, dear me.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
There you go. I told you she was a free spirit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I'm in the process of making a baby quilt for my nephew's baby that they're expecting in November, and I wish I'd never thought of it, to be honest. It's like, I'm not very good at cutting because obviously my hands are quite bad, and I can't put any pressure on, and I can't cut in a straight line to save my life. And I know you can buy the pre-cut shapes, but I just think they charge extra. And I know it makes sense if I can't do it, but I want to be able to do it. And even if it looks like I've bit it, split it with my teeth.
I love that determination. I think you need that.
Because there's a satisfaction in creating something for someone else.
Especially when you've had to go that extra kind of...
Patricia's one of the kindest people. She's so kind.
I can hear that in her voice. I'm very good with voices. I can really tell with someone's voice. You can hear that in her voice. I've got that, but yeah.
What I mean is, her mind is kind.
What did you say? I am English. Did you just say I am English? What did you say?
I said I am in the room,
Oh, I thought you just said I am English, So what's that got to do with it?
Oh dear, yeah.
Patricia, is there anything you'd like to ask Sarah? Because obviously Sarah's going to talk in a little bit because she's been writing her books. And we'd like to have an update and know what's going on. But is there anything you'd like to ask Sarah before we continue?
Well, not so much ask, but I'm just pretty amazed that you're on your third book, aren't you? No, I just find it incredible that you're on. Is it your third book? You're on.
I'm starting book 4. I started book 4 actually. Yes.
Wow.
But I'm releasing book 2. So carry on, yes.
It's mind you, I suppose when you're passionate about something, like me with my crafts, I like you sort of like you just seem to be finding it it just comes from nowhere. So if you're writing a book, it's the same, and they're saying writer's block, things like that, but
I don't get
you sort of get over it, don't you, because it's a passion.
See, my mum, she makes stuff like yourself. Probably what you're doing is different, as in like what you're creating. What she does, she has like a loom, like an actual big loom. I'm sure you know what that is, and she embroids stuff. So she has her own sheep, and as I've told you about this before, it's creation, like, and it's what you do as well. I find what you're doing, what my mum's doing, is mind-boggling. I find it mind-boggling how you can actually create something like that, because it's just too much for me to take in. So, like, yeah, it's the same thing, really. But as you say, when you've got the skills to do something, and when you've been taught to do something, you just do it. And so when you're you're crafting, what is it you make? Pillows? Because I'm saying a little pillow you've made there. It's like that heart pillow you've made.
No, I don't make pillows. That's the first thing that I've sewn.
Oh, right. Okay.
So from being sort of young, when my kids were, I had my 2 children,
right,
and I wanted new clothes because my husband was a tight person and never allowed me to spend any money. So I had to find ways of making my own clothes. I made my son a pair of trousers out of his dad's trousers that I just basically chopped most of the leg off. It fitted him round the waist.
Wow.
So my 5-year-old son was wearing my husband's corduroy jeans, and they were a bit out of fashion, I suppose, but
right,
I had to make do, and I made myself a dress. Wasn't the best, but, it's not like I was going into town and things like that. It was just in the house. So as I got older and I was bringing the kids up, I didn't really have time to, with 6 children, I don't know how anyone would be able to make clothes unless it was like midnight, and I do like my sleep. And clothes is pretty much cheap when the kids are younger.
Yes.
I mean, but anyway, so now all my kids have grown up and left home, and I've got the time to do these things. So, but more mainly, sorry, I know this is supposed to be your night, Sarah.
No, please, I'm listening. Please, we're talking about the actual creating process of it, and it's where that comes from. As you say, for you, it's from a life thing that you had to do, but now you're actually using it because you enjoy doing it, and you found it to actually be something you can enjoy, not a necessity anymore. So no, carry on. So yeah, well, you have 6 children, and go on, carry on. I thought now.
Right, it's still little things, but I like decorating things like Pringle tubs and tin cans and jams, and I like practical things. I don't like ornaments so much. I like it to be useful.
Yeah.
So decorating Pringle tubs and the little small Pringle tubs, and as well as the big ones. And then I went into nylon flowers.
Wow.
And the only one thing I can't do is paint.
Is what?
Paint. I can't paint.
Right.
Oh, well, I can't draw. I can't draw to save my life. I had to get someone else to draw a dog, because when my children were a little bit older, I went into childminding, and every child not every child, because some of them weren't old enough to speak, but the older children that I looked after kept saying, "How do I draw a dog?" And I'm like, "I've got no idea," and my dogs have always seemed to have pointed heads, and
it's actually a really, really easy way to draw a dog. It's really easy. There's a story about how to draw a dog. It's a really, really simple one. It's terrible. I must show it to you one day. It's like I'm not going to explain it in this video right now, but it really is. And I showed it to my daughter. It's like a stick man with no arms, and then he's got flies, and then he's in a circle, and there's a whole story behind it. And I did it with her one day, and she was just fascinated. And now that's how she draws dogs. She's a really good drawer, but there is. Carry on. Yeah, so you can't draw very well, but you can't do that. No.
But I do appreciate the fact that people can draw, and I think sometimes we admire people in the things that we can't do.
Yes, yeah.
And it's nice
we don't really to appreciate what we can do. That's something that I think we all need to try and do more, is actually acknowledge what we can do and stop being so hard on ourselves, and say, well, actually, what am I good at? And there's no way we can all be good at every single thing. It's just never, ever, ever going to happen. It's never going to happen. So.
No, I mean, I've got a woman that comes round to do my cleaning, and she become my friend. And little things, because I made some things for my sister. Her birthday was last month, and I've started a new craft, resin craft, and where it's clear and you can put things in it, like, I don't know, little metal things or flowers or butterflies if you want to, which I don't really want to do stuff like that. But so I made some presents for her and some other members of my family, and my friend came round and she says, "You're so talented," and I'm like, "But it's nothing." And I thought, am I talented? There's loads of people doing it, but it doesn't matter to me. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy giving presents to people.
Yes, it's a small, and it's a small part of you in those gifts. It's a small part of you you're giving them, and I think this is what it comes down to, especially when you're creating anything. This is going to go quite deep now. Like even this, what we are doing just now, and like our voices, we're talking. You actually are creating something with actual energy, and so when you're sewing, knitting, embroidering, anything like that, you are actually putting your own. This sounds silly, but your own energy into it when you're sewing and you're creating something with it's love, whether it's kind of hope, and and then you give that gift to somebody, you are giving them a part of yourself, and not in a kind of like a physical form, but in an energetic form. So and it's always going to be there. And I think those gifts mean more than anything. Well, that's how I did, and I think you need to remember that. We all do when we're creating something. And as Karen is doing these videos, you don't realize it, Karen, but you're kind of giving this to other people, and we're sharing it amongst. I'm going way too deep. Shut up.
It's okay, Sarah. It's nice.
That's what I think it is, anyway. But yeah.
And you write books.
Same thing, yeah. Yeah, but it's the creating, like, especially when you like the art, and when you put your energy into something, it is, you're putting a piece of yourself into it, I think, anyway.
You've created a whole land, tribe.
It's like crystals, isn't it?
Crystals, yes, crystals is like that. That's got the energy behind it, for sure.
In your books, you've created a whole new world, haven't you?
Plural, worlds, plurals, realms, lands, planes and things like that. There's tons of them, there's loads of them. Because I don't think there's just this one plane that we live on, like, Earth, Gaia, or whatever you want to call it. There is no way there is just one here. There's just definitely not, for sure. So I've created, this is Gaia, and then outside of Gaia there's got to be more land outside that, and they would have, other planes, other land masses, and then I would for sure think then there must be portals, portals which would take you to different realms and things like that. That's what I think anyway, and that's what I've created, realms with different planes with things of them. So
you've got your own languages though, haven't you?
I have. How did you remember that?
I do listen sometimes. And we've got languages.
I have. Currently, I've got two languages, and different terms for. How we use the words such as good morning and good night, evening, daytime. Like that kind of thing. Yeah. Have you ever thought of the word like morning? Like when you say
morning,
good morning?
Yeah, we're supposed to say good day.
But see, like that's what I looked into years back. The terminology of morning, and then you've got like breakfast. It's these kind of the word, like the play on words, for example, that kind of thing, that I really started to get, really triggered my kind of thinking. And it was, so yeah, I've built kind of other languages, other terminologies. So instead of having kind of good morning or like morning, nighttime, I've got like pearl keeps and light keeps, and all these various different kind of terms that are used in these different realms and planes for the kind of equivalent, basically, like landmarks and putting it all together.
That's amazing, though, considering it's all coming out of like your head.
Well, no, some of it isn't. Some of it is, I think it's channeling. My mum thinks it's like I'm channeling some of it. Some of it does, it's not kind of thought. It just sort of comes to me. And some of it's research as yourself. Like you've come across, especially this kind of when you're watching something backwards, you'll actually start to see it's like this. And you're hearing people talk, if you play it backwards, it's all that kind of what I found in the past, all this, that kind of what's built up and built up and built up. That is what I use in my books in the background. It's just not really, really heavily there. It's just kind of, in the background of the story.
So when did the first book come out, Sarah?
March 27th.
And you've already published a second book as well?
Thursday. 2 days. Thursday. This Thursday.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that right now?
Right now, I don't feel, it's going out and it will just get the route. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm honest. I really don't know how I feel because this last week that's kind of got up to it. As you know, I had a really, really bad weekend. It's just, I don't know. I'm starting to perk up a little bit. I'm not really excited and jumping up and down like, woohoo, this is going to be amazing. Because it's a small piece of the larger part, thing. You know what I mean? It's just one small section, and it's not going to get the huge ramp up until I get book 3. When book 3 goes out, I'm going to be really, really excited because it's a huge book. There's a lot goes on in it. And as I say, it has to build up. It's like going to build up a momentum. The more the books that go out, it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But just now, I'm really struggling with keeping that momentum and that drive when I feel like I'm dragging people. And it's become tiring. Very, very, very tiring on anything, if I'm honest. Yeah. Oh. That's probably what's how I'm feeling right now. Is I'm tired, and I'm just like, people go. I'm fed up with it. Not you, but just trying to drag people. It's tired on anything, Yeah.
Oh. Yes. Well.
People, as you know, people get annoying, right? And you're just. As you have that run, and that's all I want to do just now. But my sister, she's coming at the weekend to celebrate the launch of book 2, and she's actually quite a big piece in the story. I kind of used her, kind of in a sense, I suppose, in the actual book 2. So it's kind of ironic that she's coming over for the launch of book 2, and the book has got her in it. Kind of thing. Yeah. What?
That's nice.
It's not because no, I won't. Well, who's listening? No one's reading. Well, when are you putting this out? Like tomorrow or something? Doesn't matter, does it?
I was going to put it out later on this evening.
Yeah, no, you can. Basically, my sister. Basically, I kill her off in the book.
Oh no!
Really tragically, and so basically not on my sister, but her name and the description of her in the book, and kind of. But I did ask her permission before I did it, and I was like, and it's kind of like the chain reaction, or like the first domino that falls basically, and then has a knock-on effect to everything, Do you ever find that there's certain events within your life that if it wasn't for that kind of thing, a whole of a bunch of things would never have happened? Yeah. We've all experienced that kind of, well, if that didn't happen, where would I be right now? I mean, that happens so many times within our lives, but there's these moments, especially when we lose somebody, a significant person within our lives, like, I don't know about you ladies, but I've lost my eldest sister. She passed away when she was only 23, and she had, she had 3 children. Aww. And I was only 15 at the time, and that was a huge, massive thing within our whole family. And it was like the first domino piece that was led to so many other things, and it had massive rippling effect throughout the whole entire, and it took years and years, and still to this day there's still, you know, we're trying to heal as a family because of it, and like the dynamics has changed. And it was seeing that at that such a young age, is seeing that how much it affected people. Yeah, that's why, you know, I've written it into my books, and how I've used it as this kind of, there's a catalyst effect of what then happened afterwards, and how people, if you don't mourn, if you don't actually acknowledge a situation, and if you don't, you know, if you're continually fighting all the time, is what then happens, kind of thing. So my sister Harmony, she's a huge support to me, and I said to her, you know, do you mind if I kill you off? And she goes, no, not at all. So basically, you know, her death is it's one piece of you know, the actual bigger game part of it.
Got that far yet.
This is in book 2. This happens in book 2.
Right, book 2. Cool. Sorry, took my mind off it.
What's coming out?
Yeah.
No, Mike. This is what's coming out in book 2. So yeah, it's and then it has another effect, another thing that's going around it. So
that's what book 3's about then. The effect of what's happened.
No, okay. So see, book 3. So what I do is I kind of go back in time a little bit. So it's not in book 1 is like one book in itself, which is to do about the female character, and then book 2 we then go way back to the main female character. We go all the way back, and we get a glimpse into her land, which I describe is very, very similar to like Avatar. You know, the film Avatar. Mm-hmm. You've got the big ancient trees, and you've got all the forest, and that's basically I try to describe. You've got these huge trees, and you've got the kind of the lower land, and you've got massive, huge birds, and it's basically a very, very happy place where. But I won't go too much detail. But that's where she comes from, and it goes back to there. And then we meet her brothers, and we meet, you know, some other people that live in her land. And then we go back into the actual main section of the book, and we have the guys. We talk, you know, the actual kind of what's going on in the present time. And then at the very end of book 2, we go into Roland's memory and what happened to him in the past, and it explains why he came here before the war, which was like 400 years ago. Now, the reason I'll say to you guys is, you know, why I chose 400 years was because a couple of years back I came across some information. It was on YouTube, some guy on YouTube, and he says he reckons there was a flood about 4 years ago, whatever it was. Not too, or how many thousands of years ago with Noah Ark, but there was a flood back about 400 years ago, and it destroyed loads and loads and loads of so much, you know, it's massive, but they've covered it up. But it's why, you know, you can find barely anything solid that dates past it. There's very, very, very little that you can actually find. There's a few books, I think, I'm not sure, and that number stuck in my head, basically, this 400 years, which is why I brought in, it's not just random, but it's 400 years. But yeah, so then we go into book 3, and we continue with the female character, her story, and then at the very, very end, we then get another one of the guys, his memory, which kind of ties into Roland's memory, and all 3 books, when they're out, they'll be like a trilogy, in a sense, because they kind of link together and they explain stuff, so, yeah. I don't want to go too much in, because none of it makes much sense to you ladies, because you haven't read the books, but yeah. I hope that's explained a little bit.
That's why we were talking to you, though, isn't it? So that you
oh, well, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, but I suppose I sound like I'm drowning on a bit.
No, Sarah, it's Sarah's
yes, sure. Oh, dear. But yeah.
The floor is yours, Sarah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I could sit and talk all night about my books, yeah, but I don't know if it makes much sense if you've not read them. Yeah, but that's where it's come from anyway. So, yeah.
How's Scotland then?
It's good. Very good. Raining, I suppose.
Is it?
It was today. It was pouring of rain today.
How's that flat sea?
No, I know. It's beautiful. It is. It's beautiful.
Did you lose Oh, is Patricia going to say something? Patricia?
Oh, I was just shutting a notification thing down. I have got a question, actually, Sarah.
Yes.
I watched a video of yours, and you were talking about dreams, and that you saw... So, I wrote it down.
Oh, yeah. Was that still up? Was that ages back you watched?
Something about... Because I'm very rubbish at writing things, and I just sort of find snippets. So it says, dreams, PTO, which means please turn over, through a door and seeing someone on a table being healed.
Oh, yeah.
Can you sort of expand on that? Because I'm, like, fascinated.
Oh, wow. Gee whiz. Is that video still up? Or what was that?
You was on the video. You was talking about... You were walking around the... on the beach, and you were talking about...
Dear Lord.
Is that the one they put on Sun and Moon? Carry on.
No, see, there's been a couple. There was a couple of dreams that I had that I would have probably spoken about. But can you jog my memories which one it was? So was it about someone getting healed, and they're on a table and somebody was healing them? That one.
Yeah, it says through a door and seeing someone on a table being healed. I know you spoke about seeing, I think you said seeing your sister
yeah.
at the bottom of the bed, and then...
that one. Yeah. Yeah, see, again, this is kind of what comes into my books, this whole seeing people when they've passed on. Yeah, so I do make some of this stuff up, but it does come from somewhere. So this happened... I don't know if you've probably got the date yourself written down.
No.
God knows how many years ago.
Oh, I have actually.
You have,
Well, what it was, you were on the ladies' night in October last year.
Right.
And I'd done a bit of research because I was trying to get questions for the guests that were coming on.
I love that. You do that. Mm-hmm.
And I'd looked at your videos, you know, stalking you and stuff.
Love it.
You mentioned that, and I thought, oh, I'll ask you about that. And I never got a chance to ask you.
Oh.
So, I'm asking you now, nearly a year later.
I love that. Honestly, that's so nice that you did that. That's really, really nice. Okay, so, and I'm going to try to remember because this was a dream, and everybody knows how hard it is to remember dreams.
Yeah.
I don't know how long ago this dream was, but yeah, this was... she's not the first time I've dreamt of my sister, and this is the sister that I spoke about, the one that passed away. And she came to visit me a couple of times after she passed, and it was really, really weird when she did. You know, she was so like herself. Like when you're in a dream state, obviously you're not always like your very compass mental self. You know, you're kind of a bit ditzy in your dream, and. I says to her, this was way, way back, I was like, oh, come on, Michelle, you know, let me show you I can fly. And she literally nearly rolled her eyes at me as if to say, come on, Sarah, I'm dead. I've come to you in your dream and you want to show me that you can fly. But obviously, you're in a dream state, you're not thinking normally. It's not, so please forgive me for doing that, right? Anyway, we'll move on to that one. So, there's a few other times she'd come back. Now, this one time she came to me, you know, if it's just a dream, but if one wants to believe their own thing. And I was aware in the dream that I was dreaming, and that obviously when I saw her, I was like, okay, I know I'm dreaming, and this is Michelle's come to see me. It's what is called like a lucid dream, I suppose. That's what it's called, lucid dreaming. Yeah. And I says to her, you know, I was got quite emotional in the dream. And I says, you know, where are you? I was like, you know, what are you doing? I must have asked her something, and she says to me, I don't remember the words. She says to me, she says, I'll show you what I do, or something like that. And she said that she wanted to show me, and she took me. It was like, there was a couple of doors, and through the door they weren't like human like we are, suppose. They were like lighter. They were like just more kind of light beings. Is the only way I can explain it, because they weren't kind of like a whole solid shape. They were literally just like light. Does that make sense? Light, but they had a kind of in the shape of a body, I suppose. And there was probably, I don't know, half a dozen of them. And they were standing around what looked to be a hospital table, right? It wasn't kind of, I was dreaming, so it wasn't really solid. But they were all standing around, and there was like somebody there, and they were healing the person. And she says that's what she does now, and that's what she is. And that's what that's where she is, and that's what she does. She heals people like they do. And that was it. That's all I can remember from what you just jotted my memory. So, yeah, so I believe that's what she is with what she does.
Fascinating. I love dreams.
Yes, so do I. So apart from the ones where you die, they aren't so fun.
Is that when we go back, then she heals the globe people coming back?
Was that?
Well, like we were talking about it. Our society's quite narcissistic, and obviously when we're leaving, if we're sort of dominating, ugly, whatever it is, your sister then helps them when they come back.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I have no idea. I find the dream world a very, very fascinating subject. Very, very fascinating.
Because you can see loads of faces, right? I mean, I just remember it was a dream, and I was on a bus, and there were all these people on the bus. They all had faces, and I was thinking afterwards, was I in their dream? And they were on a bus, and I was on the bus.
Sorry, no cough now. Yeah, I find it very
astral, isn't it?
Yeah, was he into? Oh, you mean it's astral? The guy astral, the person astral, or are you talking about the astral plane?
Astral plane.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. As I say, I don't know.
And then when are you awake and when are you asleep?
I know. Have any of you ladies ever died in your dreams before? Have you ever had that experience?
Dying?
Mm-hmm. Obviously, you've never actually died, otherwise you wouldn't be here right now, but you know what I mean? Have you ever had like a...
I don't think so.
No?
Well, maybe I did. I don't know. Not that I remember.
No. Patricia?
No, not died, no. I've had a dream that I could fly when I was a child.
Oh, yeah. Just one.
And I've had some really, really weird dreams. Really weird.
Children, we all have weird dreams, to be honest.
Oh, here, I'll give you one.
I wasn't a child when I had the weird dreams.
Oh, right.
Oh, right. How old was you when you had this flying dream?
I'd say about between 5 and 7.
I'm just going to tell my daughter to turn the music down. Like it sounds like I'm in a rave club now. Hang on. Can you hear it?
Nope.
Oh, good.
No, I can't either.
I bet you my microphone picks it up. She's probably doing her exercises and going for it.
Yeah, I started flying, I suppose, when I was about 5, 6. Really, really quite young. Not done it in a while yet, but so my daughter, she came up to me. I was telling her about these flying dreams that I had when I was younger and stuff. Because kids, they want to fly, don't they? She said, "Oh, it'd be really cool if I could fly." I thought, "Yeah," I said, "I can fly in my dreams." I was telling her, and I explained to her how I did it, and all the kind of the dreams I had with my brother, who he was telling me and stuff. Anyway, so the other day we was just outside Tesco's, and really random. She was, "Oh, Mum, guess what? I flew the other day." And there must have been people walking past, and I was like, "Did you really?" And she goes, "Yeah, I did." I was like, "No way." I knew exactly what she was talking about. I said, "How did you do that?" She goes, "I was jumping on the trampoline, and I jumped so high, I just flew." Honestly and genuinely, I was so happy for her. So ridiculous. And people were walking past us, and I don't care. My daughter has just flown in her dream. I could not be more proud of my daughter.
Levitating. She's levitating. I had this feeling, I don't know, when I was a kid, I would levitate. I knew I'd levitated, and I had a life like that somewhere else.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, and flying, children, maybe it's because their minds are freer than us adults, but lots of children have flying dreams.
Yeah, you're not restricted.
Isn't it? 'Cause it means they're not clogged up like we are.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely.
Maybe that's because they understand they're experiencing something that we lose to comprehend it, if you know what I mean. Like maybe
Mm.
for them it's more real in their dreams. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Bit
so
more loose.
nowadays I just put my head down and I go donk. That's it. I'm out, and then I wake up. Oh, it's time to get up and start again.
Oh no! Do you not dream or anything? No, do you not?
No,
Do you not
no,
have?
I have the odd dream, but I'm just like basically I make videos and I go to bed so late. I just want to pass. I just want to
Oh.
pass out. I go.
Oh.
Body needs to now. Legs up, lie back, just pass out.
Lucky you, woman.
Yeah, but we're talking of quite late probably, but.
Oh.
You know what I mean. I bet you sit up late writing your book, don't you? I bet Patricia spends hours doing her sewing and.
No, I don't. No, I don't. Yeah, do you sit up late, Patricia?
No. Well, tell a lie, actually. Sometimes don't go to bed till 5 o'clock, but I'm not doing crafting. I only sleep maybe a couple of hours, and then I'll wake up and I'm like, do I want to go back to sleep, or do I want to do something, or just make myself a coffee or a cup of tea or something, and I'll go on computer for a bit. But no, I mean, yeah, actually I have crafted at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Crazy.
Because I'm wide awake basically, and I'm like...
but we don't have little children living at home anymore, Sarah, so although we're still slaves away, we can, our timetables are a little bit different, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that was about 2 weeks ago. I went to bed about midnight. I think it must have been around midnight, and I must have gotten like 45 minutes, an hour's sleep, because I set my alarm to get up at 2 a.m. in the morning to do this group chat. Because Australia, it would have been like 11 a.m. And then America, it was like 8, 9 p.m. I think, yeah. But here, it would be 2 a.m. in the morning. So I took the short straw and I was like, no, I don't mind, guys. It's cool. So we had this group chat at 2 a.m. in the morning. I had like 45 minutes sleep, maybe just under an hour. I was so tired. So tired. And we chatted a bit until about half 5 in the morning.
Good. Golly.
Yes. So I crashed for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours in the morning. My mum was here at the weekend when this happened. So yeah, it must have been like 2.5 hours, 3 hours in total. I was shattered. I was absolutely zonked. My eyes were stinging. So no, I can't do that. I need like 6 hours minimum
practice,
sleep.
You know.
Practice.
To stay up late and do things different. And, you know,
No
10 years ago, my life
up.
was so different. I was in a totally different routine than I am now. It's just evolved a bit.
You know what? I think children, you know, like you have to be totally switched on all the time. You know, you can't be relaxed. You know, you're always kind of constantly aware, you know, responsible. And I think that's what it is. It's tiring. You know, you're just tired the whole time. So.
Yeah, being in a kid's world.
It is.
It's tiring. They don't stop.
No. So what I do is I get up at like 3:30 in the morning, and I do stuff in the morning with my editor. Like, you know, it's her 8 p.m, my 4 p.m, my 4 a.m, her 8 p.m. So we get up really early, and then the kids go off, and I just drink way too much caffeine, and then yeah. So I prefer getting up early and then going to bed. I've always been like that. My whole life I've been like that. I've never been able to stay up late. So I don't know.
I'm a bit of a night owl. But then that was because I've come from having children. But Ellie, my daughter now, she's 19, so, you know, I've evolved, I've become redundant over the last few years. And so actually I can do more, you know, I like in my own time.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think, oh, sod it, what's another hour?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you got work the next day, though.
And the next day I'm dead, and then I wake up about now.
Yeah.
I think if I had my if I had a choice right now, because okay, I've even been looking up lorries or living off grid. I just the thought of it, because I just don't really like the place, the whole thing I'm living in, not just my house. I like my house, but you know, just the whole thing we're living in, and what was that? Oh, I've lost track. What I was going to say now.
Trucks.
Yeah, but it was just that I thought of doing things like that, but you know, I've got my own time in a way now. I do things a bit differently.
I do wonder if I had not more time, but if I didn't have like the structure of the children.
Time. You need another 2 or 3 hours. Why couldn't the day be 28 hours long?
Yeah. See, the thing is, when the kids are at school, I have a routine, and I have to get up early and I have to do stuff, which is why I like it. But I wonder if if the children were at home, what would I do? Would I get up to go and do stuff in the morning? Would I, I don't know. Would you?
I'm really sorry, everybody. I don't know if we're in the hangout. You're going to hear music. My daughter's down there pounding away, exercising. I asked her to turn it down. She turned it down, and as I came upstairs, she turned it up again.
Of course she did.
If we sound like we're in a little bit of a nightclub, sorry.
I honestly can't hear it.
I won't mind being in a nightclub, to be honest.
Well, Tricia, when you play this back, you might be in one.
Good to hear it.
Sorry about that. Anyway, we're sort of 50 minutes into our hangout now. We're keeping them to about an hour right now, Sarah, so it's not too demanding. But Sarah, so you've got 10 minutes. Do you want to explain a bit more about your book or the fact?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's probably better if you ask questions because it keeps it more kind of direct.
You know, like the bit about circumventing I told you. So but if people want to contact you, can they find you on Facebook?
I've got my own website now, so yeah, Facebook or on my website. So.
Okay, well, after the hangout, can you leave something when I've actually put the hangout out? Just leave something in the description, like the messages, and then people can get in touch with you there.
Yes, I can. I certainly can. I will do. Any questions? Because that'd be helpful if you've got anything to ask, and I'll answer. Well,
this one wasn't. I'm still like, I just remember a conversation we had about the fact that like there's the midnight sun, and then your mum's on the Shetland Islands, and she gets the midnight sun for so many months of the year. You don't, and you're really north in Scotland, like almost the end, and you don't see a midnight sun, and in Denmark they see a midnight sun. It's all a bit bizarre, isn't it?
It is. It is very bizarre.
But, in the summer, I'd say the last piece of light, you could probably still see light in the sky, say in June, really north. And then about 4 hours later, it's coming back again on the other side of my house. So, we're not midnight sun, but we only have a few hours night. Of course, it's the other way around in the summer, isn't it? I mean, the winter,
Yeah, in the winter, we don't get much sun at all here. No, at all.
It's only about 5-6 hours. I just think that's... And the sun goes over quicker and higher, isn't it? Quicker and higher.
That's right, yeah.
And, anyway, so... You've got loads of people coming this weekend?
No, just my sister, and we're going to go out for a meal somewhere to celebrate. But yes, that'd be nice.
Hey, that's really nice.
I must say some of the book covers are pretty, what can I say?
I'm having to change book one cover. It's a shame. I'm having to change it.
Oh, why?
Because Facebook and because you can obviously tell she's nude, and Facebook have an issue with nudity, which is a real shame, because the whole entire point of book one, or the series and the whole thing, is this nudity issue, because where this main character comes from, this female character Kia, her people, she's what I would classify as like the origin of all humanoid beings, and her people don't wear clothes because, if you were to go way back, thousands and thousands of years ago, like I would say, like clothing is like man, it's kind of material, it's materialistic, it's something that we've been said like like even me, I wouldn't go outside and naked, for goodness sake, you know. But there are, you know, clans of people across the world that don't, because it's just not their norm. So this female character, she doesn't, you know, her and her people and their land, they don't. You know, they're just very, very in tune with nature. They are Mother Nature within themselves. So this female character, she doesn't understand the whole concept. You know, she's just like, they're so irritating to her. So this main cover, when I saw the actual picture of this woman, it was so perfect. But Facebook has an issue with it, so, and they won't let me kind of advertise of it. And I've had people saying, you know, kind of it's too dark and things like that. So we're having to change it, unfortunately. It's a real shame.
Oh,
yes. So.
Oh, what are you going to put in its place, Sarah?
Don't know yet. I'm going to recover it with the new edition, because we're having to kind of do a few edits in book 1 because there was a few mistakes. So that'll probably go out in maybe October. So
you could probably put a centerfold, a Playboy or something on it, and they'd be quite accepting of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If it was a man, right? If that was a man, fine, absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of my points. Is this whole issue around it. It's kind of something that I play with within the series, is the perception of nudity is, you know, like it's perceived as a kind of a sexual thing, you know, in our day and age. But if you were to really think about it, it really isn't. And to her and her people, it's just no, because she's like a female, she's an entire, her people are just female. There's no male within her species, so it's a completely female species. And to them, it's just normal. You know, the clothing is very kind of materialistic. They don't understand it. So it's something I play with throughout the series. So it's an interesting thing. So,
you don't really have the freedom of speech, do you, really, then? Not really. There's always a problem somewhere.
I'm playing around with it. I am. I love messing around with this kind of stuff. This is the kind of thing that I really enjoy doing, is try to kind of get people to try to think, you know, it's freedom of speech. You can still get stuff out there. You just have to be very, very careful. Yeah. But what was you going to say? What about book 2, Patricia? Did you like book 2 cover?
No.
No?
No, I mean, for me personally, I'm not into men, if you know what I mean. They don't have that attraction that they used to have.
Right.
But yeah, they're all stunning.
Oh, right.
They're stunning. I'm not saying it's horrible. I'm just saying for me personally. But yeah, I can see the attraction.
Cool.
I think I really want to get your books.
Right.
But I can't read because, well, I can read, but my eyes go blurry a lot of the time. So I struggle reading. Do you do an audio book?
I'd love to do one, but they cost. We're talking minimum of £1,000 to do one.
Flipping heck.
Yep. And mine's a long book. A minimum of 1,000 to get one done. I'm not doing that just yet.
No.
Nah.
Sarah, you'll have to come and read some chapters on Sun and Moon.
No, not happening. Not happening. Not happening.
Putting her on the spot there.
I'll probably read the first few chapters. There's a lot of swearing. There's a lot of swearing in them, so probably wouldn't get away with that.
What? Facebook didn't mind that bit then?
No, that's fine. Facebook didn't have an issue. If you do the actual swearing in the actual kind of bit, they're okay. But
Anyway,
I'm just going to have to buy the books and
Sarah will probably sign them for you, Patricia.
Of course. As I said, I've only got like 2 copies left of the original one. The front cover, the one that Sarah's still out.
Oh, I best get that before it gets
you like book 1 as opposed to book 2 cover. Is that what you were going to say?
I haven't got a preference, to be honest. I'm just saying they're a little bit, you know, not quite what I was expecting, put it that way. But they are beautiful. The illustrations are beautiful. Well, the front cover they're beautiful in their own way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And what you was expecting for a flat Earth book, you mean, or just for what I'm writing?
So, well, who knows what to expect when somebody writes a book and then they put the front cover out? You know, it wasn't some. Oh, right, I was understanding it was going to be like fantasy type thing, and it is. But just, I don't know. No, I'm not against it. I'm just saying it's not. I've not got a picture in my mind.
No.
First, I didn't actually know she was naked. To be honest,
you can't really see anything. No, you can't see anything. No. No.
Sarah, you haven't mentioned what the book's called. You haven't mentioned in this hangout what the book's called.
Well, book 1 is called In Pursuit of Light, and book 2 is called In Pursuit of Trust. See, the thing is, like, when you're doing fantasy, you're restricted in some ways. And as I said, I didn't start out kind of saying, okay, I'm going to write a fantasy book. And I didn't start out saying, okay, I'm going to write a romance book. I never actually started out with that. I just started writing for my own sanity, and it really, really helped. I didn't really think much of it. But when I've had people read them, they turned around and say, it's definitely fantasy and it's definitely romance. And so now I've taken on a marketer. He's marketing it as it's very uniquely weird, and it's definitely romance, it's fantasy, but it's not in one specific genre. And when you're doing something like that, you know, you're walking a very, very, very precarious line when you're crossing genres. But it's a really good book. He says, you know, he's reading it and he says, it's very, very well written, but it isn't in just the fantasy section, and it isn't in just the romance section. I've crossed over, and they're weird, but they're very unique. So it is what it is. It is what it is, and they're not for everybody. Some people will pick them up, and they will only see the romance side of it, and some people will pick them up, and they'll just be like, nah, this book isn't for me. Where other people will pick them up, and they'll understand what I'm trying to do, and they'll see the deeper meaning of it, and they'll get past all of that. So not everybody picks the book up and reads the same. It depends on the reader and their perception of the world around them. So it's very, very, very tricky.
In the fantasy romance, the general gist of what women's lives are like, we fantasise that we're going to get romance, but we don't, you know.
Yeah, but people don't do romance and fantasy as like I do. They don't do a thick fantasy, and they don't mix it over as much as I'm doing. They'll do like 80% romance with a little bit of fantasy in it, but not as heavy in the fantasy. They don't do the kind of the world building, the languages and all that. They don't normally do that when they do it. They just keep a tiny little section of fantasy so they can say it's a fantasy romance, but just not that heavy in it. Or they do a fantasy with a tiny little bit of romance. They never go 50-50 like I'm doing. Sure.
Oh, cool. You'll have to let me know how I can buy a copy.
Yeah, Sarah, leave all her details and everything. When
yes.
I put the hangout out, and where people can get in touch with you and stuff, and put it in the message, and then Patricia can go from there. Unless you want to give it to her in a minute.
Yeah, we can do, for sure, definitely.
We've been going for...
I don't want anybody else to get a copy, because there'll be none left.
I've definitely got a paperback I can sign and get to, if you want one. I'm not going to force it down to you, for goodness sake. But,
no, I want one, because I do like them sort of books. And I know my son likes them as well, whether he wants the romance bit, but you never know. Yes. You know, so it'll probably get passed on to a few people, but...
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'd look forward to it.
Cool.
Sarah,
I'm not a big book reader, so do appreciate the fact that... What?
So Patricia's still going. Carry on, Patricia.
Oh, sorry. Then I'm not a big book reader, so be extremely astounded that I'm going to actually buy a book.
Oh, bless you. Have you read any books before, or have you read anything in the past? Like,
I Sorry, I used to read a lot of Mills and Boons when I was bringing kids up because I had to escape somehow.
Yes.
But I got to the point where I thought, it's all the same. It's just different characters in different places, and you just think...
Exactly, Patricia. That is what happens. Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I had a dream while I was reading these books. Not literally while I was reading, but, you know, like in that time period of reading all these books, because my grandma and my mum gave me a load, and I'm like, oh, flipping it. Anyway, I had a dream because this carpet shop that I lived across the road from, well, literally across the road, I dreamt about the man inside the shop because he was quite nice, and I'm, you know how you do a bit of escapism. I would never, I would never be unfaithful of anything like that. But you know, you have a little bit of a, oh, he's quite nice, you know.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
I was dreaming that I'd walked into the shop, and on his head was like a 2-inch width piece of carpet on his head as his hair.
Seriously? Wow. Okay.
I told you I've had some weird dreams, you know.
Was this wrapped around in like a banner type thing, like a head banner?
You know, no, like Mohican down the middle.
Oh my lord. Okay, alright.
It was a piece of carpet.
Oh my lord. Okay. Right. Then what happened?
I think I woke up.
Really? Yeah. We totally believe you. Yeah, alright.
Oh, I can't give you all the details, can I?
Yeah, no, but that's what happens with books, is they become repetitive. And I read a lot of books, because as you know yourself, usually they're like an escape from what is going on around you, and that's why people normally read, is so they can escape reality and they can go into another world. That is what I started doing. Unfortunately, as you say, every book then just becomes repetition, and and that is what I started to write something myself, because I got fed up with it, of the same characters and a different storyline, and you could just predict what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that anymore. And I thought to myself, no. And the only way I can get out of that is by writing my own story. And so I'm hoping that people will not be able to predict what is going to happen within each book. You know, I doubt it, and that's what I want. I don't want people to be able to predict what's happened. I want it to have depth. I want people to cry when they read. I want them to get attached to the characters and actually open up their minds and imaginations to actually kind of start questioning things and actually go, you know what, maybe, you know, that's what I want. I want people to question things, instead of just taking things at face value. And it's all about perspective and how we see stuff in our perspective, you know, point of view. Well, in actual fact, it is just because of our life and what's happened, you know. So that's what I wanted to get across, and so it's why I write the way I do and stuff. So
yeah. And another thing, quickly before we sort of finish, is when my kids were really little. I say when they were really little. When my youngest one was little, my daughter was about, I think she just started preschool sort of thing. Anyway, I used to play Tomb Raider. I was obsessed with it. And I'd get my daughter off to school. Other ones sort of took themselves because they were a little bit older. But I'd take my daughter to school, I'd come back. Literally, I'd got my pyjamas on over my jacket. My jacket over my pyjamas. Look a bit silly other way around, it? You know what I mean? Like, so that I'd get back home and I'd just play. I mean, obviously, I looked after kids.
Yes, of course, yeah.
But it'd be like on it, and it got to the point where I had a dream one night that I could actually side jump over from one roof to another, and I was doing it through the neighbourhood. I was side jumping.
How awesome! That's awesome.
And it's like, I stopped doing it after that. I thought, no, I think I've done too much.
You might start doing it when you're in your waking hours and think you're still dreaming or something, and yeah, it can get dangerous.
Yeah. It's a bit weird.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I have had a dream where I predicted, well, not predicted, I've dreamt something and a few days later it's come true. And that was when I was younger at school and that. And I thought, I don't want to actually not wake up one day, but one day actually try and jump from one roof to another. Cause,
no, would you not want to do that? I would. That'd be fun.
Well, I would now, actually. I'd like to be able to do that, but I just about managed to walk most days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that I knew I could, that I had dreams that came true, and I'm like, no.
Wow.
Bit weird.
Not weird, but fascinating, but probably scary, I'm guessing. Probably a little bit scary too, kind of a bit frightening, maybe.
Yeah, I think I had, well, I know I definitely remember one, but I'm sure somewhere I remember another one. Well, I don't remember another one, but I remember having one, if you know what I mean, but I can't remember what it was about. But one I can really remember that came true a few days later. Well, I say a few days later, it might have been a week later or a month later, I don't know, but because, you know, like, you go, I had a dream about this. It's like, well,
Well, do you want to share us? Should share with us what happened?
Well, I was walking behind someone as we were going into school. There was two lasses in front of me, and I was walking behind. And one girl said to the other, "Oh, you've got a really shiny stain on the back of your skirt. What's that?" And of course, the other lass said what it was or wasn't. And I don't know if you know anything about that. I don't want to go into too much detail, but basically. And then a few days later, it actually happened, or whenever it happened later on.
Oh, synchronicity, Patricia.
Oh.
I think a lot of us have those kind of things, to be honest. The ether.
Sometimes we don't remember them, though. That's the thing. We probably all do them.
Yeah.
It's something to do with the Ethernet.
Maybe. That's interesting.
Sarah, we wish you all success for the second book.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on and having a hangout with us. It's been a little while, but lovely lady that you are.
Thank you very much. It's been lovely. And thank you for having me on.
Patricia, do you want to say anything?
I think I've spoken too much. My throat's really dry now.
It always happens when I come on.
She does talk. See, people don't believe me sometimes, because some people said, I've never heard Patricia talk, and I have to say, she does talk.
Yeah, it's just, she's a quiet person, he just needs prompting a little bit. And
not just that, you know, we have hangouts where, you know, sometimes in the past, people have come on, they haven't even really said hello to us, and they've continued for an hour talking, like, so, Patricia would definitely have been very quiet then.
Yes.
I don't really have much to say unless it's a topic I've got something to talk about, if you know what I mean. I can't just do general chit-chat. I can't do general chit-chat. It has to be a topic that... I know that sounds quite selfish, you know.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is selfish. I think it's kind of, it's like you want to be engaged in it, otherwise you're being fake. I think that's how it is. You know, sometimes it's otherwise you're kind of forcing yourself. I'm not that. I'm just saying that's the way. Maybe sometimes it feels like you're forcing yourself to do something. Like that's how I get. Like when I'm just tired. I'm like, oh, you know.
Well, imagine how Sarah feels. She's got a whole world and 2 languages, and going on in her head.
It's fun.
It's probably much nicer than being here, though.
Yeah, I will say that. That's why I missed writing just now. It gets too much being left in my own head, for sure. Fair writing.
Oh, Sarah, I think you're probably a little bit... There's just been a lot happening. You've written your books. You're a bit, like you said, a little bit stuck at the moment. You've got lots happening, though. Obviously, the launch of your second book, and
Yeah.
Don't worry about anything. You're doing really good. We're really proud of you.
Thanks.
And
Thank you very much.
Big hug.
You too, lovely. Thank you very much, ladies. Right, it's been lovely chatting to you too, Patricia, and yourself, Carol. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and you have to come and talk back soon at some point.
Yes, for sure. Just give us a shout if you want to.
Of course. Anyway, lovely Sarah.
Love you too. Okay, take care.
Love you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye,
Take care, ladies.
everybody.
Bye. Bye. Bye.